Hey everyone, you've made it to step 3. You're hanging in there and it's going well. What we're going to do in this step is find an article on your topic. And what we're going to do is make sure you completed step 1 and 2 before starting step 3. Step 1 was confirming your topic, making sure that's what you want to keep for the rest of the semester. And step 2 was looking at ethos, pathos, and logos. If you watch that one video that I presented and you're like, yeah, I still really don't get it, go back to step 2 and there's a link to another video that contains more information. It's not one that I created. It's one that looks at advertising, but I think it's got some really good information that applies to us. So go back to that and look at it if you're still unsure about it. So we're looking for an article now, and the article that you select does not have to agree with you. It can disagree with you, whatever your topic is, whatever position you personally hold on it. It doesn't matter because what we're doing is exploring how someone is making their case, not finding evidence to support our positions. So what kind of research are we doing for these exercises? I am, for this example, exploring whether or not Old Town Road should be classified as a country song. Eventually, we are going to do the type of college level research that all students do. But for this first assignment, we're just dipping our toes into the very cool pool water. And we're going to start with a more informal approach. That's going to give us a richer and more entry level access because I want us to get into it and have it be kind of quick. And with the research we do later, that takes a lot more time to get into it. So we're gonna just kind of dip into this slowly. Step 3 asks us to find an article on your topic from an established publication, such as an online newspaper, magazine, or website. And I'm calling a written document on a website an article, just so we can all have the same terminology. So let's see here. Excuse me. What kind of article should you look for? Any kind of article that's on a website, especially if it's one that's relatively well known or also publishes a magazine that you've heard of. Do not use a blog. That's just not going to be long enough to get us going with this topic. And don't use a Wikipedia entry. It's too factual. And don't use a transcription of a podcast. Those are off the cuff speaking and not where it's been a planned presentation of written language. So podcasts definitely have their places, but not for the analysis we're going to do. I think you could use one. It's technically possible. It would just make your life very difficult, and we're trying to avoid that. The article you find should not be one that's just informative. It needs to be more persuasive, to have one side or the other. It needs to be an opinion or present the opinions. For example, I would not be successful in this assignment if I pick an article about Old Town Road's lyrics, the date of release, the biography of the songwriter, where it was on the charts, all those factual details. That's not what I'm looking for, and that's what Wikipedia could give me. Instead, I want to find out about my one specific question. It is a debatable point. The article I need to look for should have a minimum of 500 words. That's going to give me enough meat to dive into it. I don't expect you to count the words, but here's what you can do. Count the words in one line of the article, then count the number of lines, then multiply them. If it's less than 500, find another article. And we just did math and English class. How about that? So what we're going to do is we're going to just use Google. And remember, this is an entry-level search just to get us started, just to let us enter the conversation. We will, in time, do more what you would call college-level research and study all of those aspects. But we need to just get acquainted. So this is what we're going to do. And in the Google search window, you're going to enter a phrase that contains your basic topic, such as Old Town Road, and terms that frame that search as a debatable topic or an opinion. So for example, should Old Town Road be classified as country? Should Old Town Road be classified as rap? Why is Old Town Road country? Why is it not country? Did it change country music? Did it change rap music? Is it good for country music? Is it bad for country music? Why is there a debate? So let me summarize the process before we do it. The Google search basically needs those two things, your topic and the terms that frame it. Think of things like good or bad, helpful or harmful, necessary or unnecessary, etc. Put these terms in and then hit search. So I'm going to just copy this since I've already written it. I'm going to go to Google. I'm going to paste it in here. And hit search. So here we have, what is that, 2 billion results? Okay, so this is a rich topic. I firmly believe that the article you need will be in these first 10 options. One thing you can also do is look at searches related to this. These are more factual. Let's look at this one. I think this is the one that I used. So I picked the first one. And what we're doing with these is looking at an article. We're going to read through the first screen of results. And it's usually going to be around 10 hits. And we're going to also look to see if the last time I did this, a little screen popped up that had people also ask, and that was really helpful. It's not showing up here. But if you get one of those, then look at those different questions, and that might help you refine your topic, because your topic, maybe the big picture has been selected, but the fine tuning still has some room to adjust it. So what you're going to do is take 10 to 15 minutes, no more, to find an article, because again, this is not make or break your paper on whether or not you pick the right article to look at. We're just trying to find one. Any one of these is going to give us information. So one thing you need to do is avoid anything that has an ad on it. It's an advertisement. Avoid anything that might be called featured. We don't want those. And then some articles are behind a paywall. You have to pay to access it. Never do that. Never pay for anything, and do not subscribe to anything. It's not worth it. We don't need to do that. Some really are tricky. They let you read a few paragraphs and then they block you. You know who you are, Fortune Magazine. I really enjoyed those 2 paragraphs, and I can subscribe to read the rest of it, but I shall not. What you'll do is read through the titles of the articles. And if one sounds interesting to you, you will select it and you'll read it quickly, like maybe read only the first sentence in each paragraph to get a gist of what's happening there. See if it's long enough. See if it's an opinion piece. And it's okay if it presents both sides of the opinion. If it passes these tests, then go to the next test, which is to read the article and look for ethos, logos, and pathos. Note that you may find a sentence or two in these articles that have, let me see, lost my place. That you could highlight and say, look, there's logos, there are facts, there are details, there's data. Or you may have to describe a passage of what you see the writer doing. For example, if a writer is presenting both sides of an issue, then you could say that's them presenting good ethos. They're being fair to both sides, letting the reader make up their own mind. If they're appealing to the emotions, fear, sadness, excitement, outrage, then that's pathos. So when we look at these a little bit more in depth, logos, as far as facts go, they may or may not be in the articles you read. It may be more emotion-based. That's something for you to talk about. You may have found that you really want to use this article, but it doesn't have hardly any logos. That's okay. You can talk about what it does to that article by not having logos, by having so much pathos. You can talk about that. That's a point of discussion. Pathos, the appeal to emotion. If it's there, discuss it. If it's not there, discuss why the writer made that choice, you think, or how the argument would have been different if the choice was made, if the choice was made to include it. And ethos, like we talked about earlier, the writer and the article are always going to have ethos. It may be good ethos, may be poor ethos, but it is always ethos. I'm going to edit that. It may be that they only gave one side of the argument. It may be that they let their bias show, and that prevented them from being fair with the facts. That's more of a description of what they've done in the article rather than one sentence that's got a data point in it. So you'll be able to highlight or underline words that show logos or pathos, but ethos is not so simple. It's an overall appeal created by using lots of facts or too many emotions. A writer will have a good or bad ethos if they misuse logos or pathos. So if they misuse the emotional or the logical, then their ethos, their ethics, their credibility has been damaged. Ethos can all be on the writer and how the article is written. It can also be on the source, such as the website or the publication. Consider looking at an article's homepage and find their About section. See how long they've been a publication and if they self-disclose any viewpoint. If they tell you right up front, we are a politically conservative publication, we are a politically liberal publication, they may tell you right up front so you don't have to guess. You can also check by the kinds of pictures they have, the kinds of articles they have. You can make those judgments as to a political leaning of a source based on those. You can also look up that magazine or resource website on Wikipedia. We don't have to do that, but you might just be curious. For example, I'm going to pick an article from the Rolling Stone magazine, and it's been around since about 1967. Focuses on music and pop culture. It's generally well trusted for musical reporting. According to Wikipedia, it's had a few glitches in its credibility, but overall I felt like it was a good choice for the topic that I wrote about. So finding all three appeals is required for your homework, and we are now ready to go to step 4.